Hey guys, in this video I'll be taking a look at the top 5 most controversial Mr. Olympias throughout bodybuilding history. The main way to see if an Olympia fits the controversial bill is if the majority of the bodybuilding community disagrees with the outcome. However, another thing to look out for is a quote-unquote out-of-shape champion as well. These 5 Olympias that I have are definitely regarded to be some of the most controversial. However, the order of them is definitely based on my opinion. One thing to point out is that the 1972 Mr. Olympia is not on this list, but I could easily have put it on here. I'll give it an honorable mention right now due to the extremely close nature of the show. However, depending on how you feel, it could replace the number 5 spot. Now, before the video does start, a like and sub would be much appreciated as it does help support the channel. With that all being said though, let's get into this video. Alright, starting off this list is the 2023 Mr. Olympia. Now, I know this may be an odd pick to have to start off the list, considering that the aforementioned, let's say the 1972, which is the one I was just talking about, or for instance, the 2002 Mr. Olympia, are much more well known. However, I personally have never seen an Olympia that garnered so much controversy on social media. I would argue that all the Mr. Olympias during the 2010s until 2023 were not filled with a lot of negative controversy. However, this one was not only close, but very debatable. Fans on both sides took to social media to voice their feelings, some of which were, very sour very quickly. I think the prominence of Instagram and other social medias allowed for the debate to rapidly spread, with Hadi and Derek fans relentlessly voicing their opinions. Basically, many argued that Hadi's superior conditioning and muscle maturity were far ahead of Derek's, lackluster, you could say, frontal separation and dryness, while Derek fans argued that his phenomenal lines and wow factor, such as his V-taper and back, were enough to win. Either way, the decision was super close, which only contributed to the ever-growing arguments. Going into the 4th place spot, we have the 2007 Mr. Olympia, where Jay Cutler beat a more conditioned and arguably more aesthetic Victor Martinez. Jay, who had just beat the former 8-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman the year prior, came in with pretty bad conditioning. His waist had also widened a bit, and he had an imbalance in his biceps, which were only highlighted by Victor's near-perfect symmetry and aesthetic lines. According to Milos Sarcev, when Jay Cutler asked him for his opinion on the 2007 Mr. Olympia, he said, "In 2007, everyone expected you to win, and you were not really in perfect shape. So you could slip by one space maybe, but they didn't even allow that to happen. If I were the judge," says Milos Sarcev, "that was a gift. But 2007, if I was a judge, you'd be 4th, he said. Victor Martinez, Dennis Wolf, and Dexter Jackson all beat you. If I was, Dexter got 4th. Listen, there was an argument for all 3, but okay, if you look now, Big Ramy slips from 1st all the way down to 5th. Maybe it was not even feasible back in the day. Jay is finally beating Ronnie after Ronnie beat you so many times. You were second, and finally in 2006, you beat him finally." What I think Milos means by this is that the judges most probably favored Jay's name and pitied him due to his continual second place finishes to Ronnie. Compared to now, like at the 2022 Mr. Olympia, when the reigning champion Big Ramy came in off, the judges penalized him. I feel like this competition's outcome was driven by popularity, fame, and notoriety, since it's undoubtable that Victor's conditioning was miles ahead of Jay's, and his shape was, definitely far better. You could make the argument that Jay was much bigger, however, what's size without conditioning? In my opinion, I think that Victor should have won, even though it was admittedly pretty close. Okay, in the 3rd place spot is one of the most well-known controversies of the 90s, the 1997 Mr. Olympia. In all honesty, this Olympia really needs no introduction. However, for those who aren't as familiar with it, Dorian Yates, the reigning 5-times champion, came in with torn triceps and biceps, and a bit of a bloated stomach due to growth hormone use. The runner-up Nasser El Sonbaty was extremely shapely and just as massive, and had Dorian beat everywhere except in conditioning, in my opinion. Looking at pictures though, you may think, how could Dorian even win this contest with his, really messed up physique? That is exactly what I thought. However, looking at other pictures and hearing from those who were really there reveals that Dorian's granite-like conditioning was miles ahead of Nasser's, which really looked soft in comparison. Many argue that Dorian's trademark conditioning was really enough to win. However, others debate that Nasser's shape and size was really dominant. In my opinion, after much deliberation, I do think that Dorian's impressive back and his mastery of the mandatories allowed him to, just barely scrape by. Trust me, pictures do not reveal anything. Videos and first-hand accounts tell it all. Now, that being said, this Olympia still remains to be one of the most controversial and really could have gone either way. Now, choosing where to place these next two was definitely hard. However, in second place, I have the 1981 Mr. Olympia. If I remember correctly, Tom Nader did a video on this one and titled it the greatest booing contest of all time, which accurately represents what happened. Franco Columbu won this contest, beating out guys like Chris Dickerson and Tom Platz, who placed second and third respectively. The reason as to why so many were opposed to Franco winning was due to his numerous flaws that he presented: lackluster conditioning with zero leg separation, gyno, and overall a melted look to his physique, compared to Platz, who had the best legs of that era and arguably of all time, and Dickerson, who was much more shapely. Franco looked like an off-season mess. I personally think that this one could have actually been more objectively controversial than the first place spot, due to the, general consensus that Franco was practically gifted this win. However, I think that the first place spot is much more well known and more controversial in my opinion. Anyways, there really isn't, much else to say about this one, since it is really straightforward and was certainly due to IFBB politics. Since it hasn't been mentioned yet, you may be able to predict which Olympia will be first, and that is the 1980 Mr. Olympia. Now, I've made several videos on this Olympia, and I will save my opinion on it until the end. However, let's set the scene. It was 1980, and there were many competitors that had a chance of winning. The reigning champion, Frank Zane, the perfect score, Mike Menser, Boyer Coe, and Chris Dickerson, to name a few. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the eventual winner, would enter the show less than 24 hours before the competition, initially set to be the show's promoter and a guest, not a competitor. His announcement ruffled, a lot of feathers, as many believed that it would be a shame to see a former champion get dominated by a more modern, competitive lineup, to say the least. Others were extremely happy to see the 6-times champ return to the stage, as, anyone would really be happy to see a legend in person. I don't think I would be upset to see him, just randomly appear on stage. Now, to the shock of many, Arnold made it into the first call-out with a serious, intent to win, and he was definitely in contention to win at that time. So when they announced him as the winner, many people were surprised, as they were really shocked to see him even make it to the first call-out. There was outcry, debate, and arguments being held as soon as the competition finished, as Arnold was clearly not at his best. I've stated in the past that he was, about 75 or 80% of his 1975 showing, and these missing percentages can be attributed to his lackluster lower half. Now, in terms of my opinion, I think that he definitely won the competition fair and square. You can watch the various videos I have on my channel about it. However, he was definitely better than the other competitors. He had the best upper half, dominated the lineup in size, had immaculate stage presence and overall charisma, and hid his weaknesses with amazing posing. You may have heard lots of talk about Mike Menser beating Arnold, which I think is ridiculous. In my comparison between the two, it was close, as was the entire contest. However, there is a reason as to why he placed 5th. Admittedly, though, I do think he could have definitely placed higher. Like I said, though, this is purely my opinion, and I truly believe this is the most controversial Olympia because of the indecisiveness and constant talk about who should have won. The entire top 5 is constantly debated, if that says anything, and I do think that Arnold's status did play a role in his win. Anyways, let me know down below what you think of this Olympia. Alright guys, that about does it for this video. In all honesty, these are my sole opinions, and opinions are what makes bodybuilding so special. We can all have our own thoughts on what should have happened and why, and discuss and debate them. I think that this list is rather fair though in terms of objectively ranking the controversies. However, let me know down below what you think and what order you would have had, or if there are any other Olympias you would put on the list in replacement. With that all being said, I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.